Ken, Ken can see himself. This is the accompanist who's going to be working with Neil Innes, who's worked with him for the last couple of years. Please welcome Ken Thornton. Plug yourself in. And okay, which one? You can use that one. And as Ken settles himself in, we are delighted to bring to the stage a man who's been friends with the Beatles over the years, worked with them, was a member of the Bonzo Dog Band when they performed in Magical Mystery Tour, worked with Monty Python, worked with so many folks, and then pulled together the Rutles with Eric Idle, a dear friend to this convention, wonderful chap. Please welcome Neil Innes.
This is really wonderful kind of, we do our own kind of roadie thing, you know, we need to plug ourselves in. And it's always funny, you know, to have this nice build-up and then we say, right, well, I'll be with you in a minute or two.
I know, we have to do these DIs where you can actually plug in elsewhere or do a radio thing or something like that.
So, well, let's just see if things are working. Oh my God. I can't hear them in the monitors. Yeah, so about 20% down on that. Pretty good. 1, 2. Hello, testing. 1, 2. Testing. 1, 2. How do you do? Testing. 1, 2. It's wonderful to be here. Testing. 1, 2. Testing. 1, 2. 2. Do. Right. I think we're there.
I
didn't check that one out for the key. I'm having to change key on songs because I'm here, but my voice, the usual voice, isn't. So I'm turning into sort of a crooner. I have to sing much lower these days.
We're going to get a Barry White thing going.
Absolutely, baby. How are you today?
Now I want to stress that what Neil is going to do is strictly medicinal.
Yes, don't try this at home. This is an amazing song. It's given to me. It's called The Singer's Saving Grace. God knows what's in it.
Grace Jones.
Ah, probably. Whitney the Pooh.
So, and Ken, are you okay on your levels? Are you okay with that?
Yeah,
okay.
We think we're all right.
All right. So, now that we, while we happen to have you here, armed with guitars, voice, and Barry White's vocal cords, I know there's some folks here that weren't here yesterday, so we may go over a little bit of...
Really? Make yourself known.
Is there anybody here today who was not here yesterday?
Oh, right.
There you go, so we have to...
Today,
Is there anybody here today that's never been here before? Whoa. Oh, I think we have to start right at the beginning. When were you born? No. Perhaps we could, we don't have to follow a strict chronology, but it would be fun to look at a couple of things, including the first time you actually encountered the Beatles. You've spoken before of the times that you had first heard the Beatles on the radio and so on, but your first encounter with the Beatles?
The first encounter was, in fact, Magical Mystery Tour, sort of face-to-face, when we found out that they'd be coming to see us. You know, the Bonzo Dog Band, you know, because we were a very silly band, doing very silly things. We had songs like Can Blue Men Sing the Whites, and My Pink Half of the Drainpipe, and I'm Bought Canyons of Your Mind, and things like that. And we were sort of like, oh yes, some journalists called us the clown princes of rock, or pop. And so, you know, we were in there, and the Beatles, of course, has a great sense of humour, and so we were sort of fated to meet up, so they invited us to be on the Magical Mystery Tour, and we did the scene in the strip club.
That must have been very hard to do.
Oh yeah, it's very hard to do. We had to sort of keep doing it. But John, John and Ringo had their own 16mm cameras, and I said, "What are you doing?" And they said, "We're doing the Weybridge version."
Actually, they would just focus on the band.
Yeah, that was it was just one day's shoot. They were just in the audience, having to be shot as extras.
But no, I mean, they were filming the band. They weren't interested in the stripper.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yes.
Yeah, they were looking for sort of piano techniques and things like that.
Exactly.
The tricks of the trade.
Little tricks of the trade. Though it was that we haven't planned any of this, I'm wondering, could you give us even a flavour of the song that you did there? Just unprepared, you see, without a title.
Last night, Viv used to sing this, so I probably haven't. That night, Cutie called a cab. Baby, don't do it. She left her east side down so gravel. Baby, don't do it. She went out on the town, knowing that make her love a friend. Death cab for Cutie. Death cab for Cutie. Someone's gonna make you pay your fare. Yeah, something like that.
Thank you so much. Totally unprepared. I threw that at Neil. He hadn't prepared it, but it was lovely.
No, we got the title from an American true crime magazine. It was a headline on the cover of the magazine, Death Cab for Cutie. And we thought, oh, what a great title. So we wrote this sort of silly saga about, Cutie in a cab that was ultimately to be her doom.
Indeed. Now, also doomed on that famous scene was when the broadcast went out, the young lady in question in the scene actually had an enormous, enormous
black censored sort of thing, it shows you how naive and lovely things were in 1968. You couldn't have bare boobs on television unless it was a documentary about Africa.
So there's a big thing that's just said censored. Very, very.
No, actually, I thought that was just black, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was. Yes,
but everyone knew that was, oh, you can't see this.
And rumour has it that may be actually put on the only quality tape they've got, the original negative. It's on that. They did it optically, so that they can never be recreated.
See Fiona's charms.
Was her name Fiona?
I think it was Fiona.
Oh. Well, we won't ask how you know her name. That filming was obviously, was that at Raymond's Review Bar? Was that
Raymond's Review Bar in London, in the heart of Soho? Yeah.
And did you get much interaction with the Beatles on that day?
Well, yes, because there's a lot of hanging about with filming. George was very sweet and said, I think Death Cab for Cutie should be a single. I said, oh, you're kidding. He said, no, really. And Paul was very fun. The Bonzos had just released their first album called Gorilla. And there was a thing on it called The Music for the Head Valley, which I wrote on a harpsichord. And it was an actual dance we worked out. We all sat on chairs and sort of went this all together. And then somebody looked up, and by the time the others came back, they had to do a double take. And we all looked up, and he looked down. And it was just, very silly. But Paul liked that a lot, liked the music for that.
And then
I can't play that.
I was going to say, you'd already did the dance perfectly. So with the Bonzos, of course, were resistant to what was then the automatic thing of putting out a single, because singles were not quite your cup of tea, and yet something changed that.
No, we didn't really see the point of it, because we were very much kind of visual acts, and we weren't terribly interested in making sort of swish recordings or anything, but we wanted to put plenty of silly ideas on it. And so, I mean, we were in fact probably earning as much money as anybody who was in the charts, because, we were very popular in our own way doing live shows. But the record company sort of said, no, we're going to have a single, So, in fact, I came up with a song and everyone agreed that should be the single. It was a thing called Spaceman. And I remember playing it to Viv, and he said, no, too many verses. So I cut 2 verses, and he was right. But then our producer at the time was a man who was very keen on sort of moving things along. He had this theory that it never took more than 3 hours to make a recording of any song. And so we were getting fed up with this because we wanted to put little squeaks and special effects and things like that. I mean, I think we were probably as bad as the Beatles in wanting to try things out. You know, these, ooh, look at these toys. You know. Viv was moaning about this producer-manager to Paul McCartney down in a club one evening, and Paul said, "Well, I'll come and produce it." And Viv said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah, no problem. You know, when is it?" And all this kind of thing. All right. So we had this wonderful moment being able to go back to our producer-manager and say, "Well, actually, we don't want you to produce the single." "Oh, who do you think you're going to get?" You know, we milked the pause. You know, so I said, "Well, actually, we're going to get Paul McCartney." "Huh?" So anything, all right, you know. And he thinks, great, surefire hit, anything with Paul McCartney's name on it, you know, like Mary Hopkins, all that kind of thing, you know. Because, you know, Paul was very, busy really in the music business outside the Beatles and things. So anyway, the day came, and Paul knew, you know, why he was there really, was because this bloke was always watching the clock, you know, so, well, that's enough of that, and get on. So Paul comes in and sort of says hello, and we're sort of mucking about, and then he goes over to the piano and he plays Hey Jude. And none of us had heard it. I don't think the Beatles had even heard it. And he played it all the way through, and I remember giggling, thinking, you know, this will really wind up our manager, you know. Because, God, this is a dirge, isn't it? It's going on and on and on. And eventually, you know, 8.5 hours later, you know, we ended up with the thing being done. But on the way, you know, it's funny, the producer had a very county English wife, fearsome woman, you know, with huge tracts of land. And Viv was playing, Paul was playing Viv Stanshall's ukulele. And Paul is one of these irritating people. He's a fantastic musician, you know, bang two bricks together and make it sound good, you know, go on a keyboard, do anything. So he's playing Viv's ukulele, you know, the wrong way around for a left-handed guy. You know. And this manager's wife came up and said, "Oh, what's that you've got there? A poor man's violin?" And Paul said, "No, it's a rich man's ukulele."
I've always enjoyed that story. Tell me, do you by chance recall either of the additional verses that were slightly too long for the single?
No.
One day in the
really
future,
do not know.
One day in the future, is it possible you might excavate those from the archive?
I can't remember. You know, because the whole impetus for the song was, rather, today they have different word for sort of like derelict areas within cities. Like brownfield sites or something they're called these days in England. I don't know what they're called here. But at the time in the 60s, they were called urban spaces. And I thought, well, if there's urban space, there's got to be an urban spaceman. And I also thought, well, you know, at the same time, you know, adverts were coming at you, you know, thick and fast off the screen, and everyone was like really happy because they've got a shiny floor, and you know, the kind of things that the images that we got used to today were, you know, the kind of, you know, in your face a bit to me. And I thought, well, who is this urban spaceman? It's somebody who's so perfect, you know, that, you know, but in fact they don't exist. They exist in a simulacra on the television or in advertising magazines, you know. These super beings that have got no spots or anything, you know. They're not overweight or, you know, they're just, you know, these images, you know, just getting in the way of everything. So I thought that's really what I wrote Urban Spaceman about. And of course the first line was, "I'm the urban spaceman, baby, I've got speed." And everyone thought it was about drugs.
No drugs on this stage.
No.
Something completely different. Could we tempt you into, or lure you into doing a little rendition, please?
What, of Urban Spaceman?
If you would be so kind.
Right. What did I have to change the key. I do.
Barry White Eyes, the guitar.
Yeah, we could do a, you know, tribute to Johnny Cash. Around there. All right, 4th fret. That's 4th fret's good. Yeah. I'm the urban spaceman, baby. I got speed. I got everything I need. I'm the urban spaceman, baby. I can fly. I'm a supersonic guy. I don't need pleasure. I don't feel pain. If you were to knock me down, I'd just get up again. 'Cause I'm the urban spaceman, baby. I'm making out. I'm all about. I wake up every morning with a smile upon my face. My natural exuberance spills out all over the place. I'm the urban spaceman, I'm intelligent and clean. Know what I mean? I'm the urban spaceman, as a lover, second to none. It's a lot of fun. I never let my friends down, I've never made a boo. I'm a glossy magazine, an advert on the tube. I'm the urban spaceman, babe, but here comes the twist. I don't exist. Of course, it was different on the record.
Yeah, but there's also wonderful swirling.
Yeah, so the thing was, Viv Stanchel had this thing in his box of tricks, which was basically a length of garden hose and a plastic funnel sort of glued in one end. And he put a trumpet mouthpiece in the other, and he used to whirl it around his head and make this horrible noise. And of course he wanted to put it on the record. And the engineer said, you can't record that, you know, how are you supposed to record that, you know? And Paul said, yeah, you can, you know, just put a microphone in each corner. So that took another 20 minutes, you know. So there's a microphone in each corner of the thing, and Viv's swirling this thing around, you know. Daft days.
Indeed. So that was a wonderful experience for you, having Paul work with you. Between then and when the Ruttles happened, you'd spent a lot of time becoming an associate Python, because the Monty Pythons grew very enamoured of your music creation. You became involved in their films and their stage shows. Could you share a little bit of the music and the stories behind that?
No.
Okay, let's move right on.
No, I mean, well, yes, it all came about because the Bonzos did a television show with Pythons before they became Pythons, a thing called Do Not Adjust Your Set, and we did 26 of these shows, so we got to know each other pretty well. And by the time the Bonzos went to America the second time, the time we came back, Monty Python had formed, and the Bonzos had had enough, and we were sort of breaking up. And then Eric Idle rang me up out of the blue saying, you know, what are you doing? I said, oh, I'm doing a bit of writing, a bit of producing, a bit of this and that. He said, do you fancy coming up to the television centre? Our warm-up man's ill. I said, I don't do warm-ups. He said, it's 25 quid. So I said, all right, done. So, and then we went off for a meal afterwards, and they said they were going to make some records, and could I help them out with the music? And I said, well, what sort of records are you going to make? I said, we've written some songs. I said, well, what kind of songs? And they said, well, Michael's written this thing about agrarian reform in the Middle Ages. I said, oh, really? And they said, yeah, what sort of music do you think for that, Neil? And I said, reggae. You know, so, and it was like that, you know, silly things like Eric the Half a Bee and all those kind of matching tie and handkerchief, you know, silly nonsense songs and whatnot. And of course, well, actually, one's a really good song that Eric wrote for the Philosopher's song. Why is this gone dead? I don't know. Do you know?
I know even less than you know.
What? Yeah. Thank you. Okay. I'm going to have to say, I'm going to bust the keys again. You know, I'm like, hang on. I bet you didn't know, I've never ever done a slick show in my life.
And we didn't know that. We could not tell at all.
Don't intend to start now. I'll do it up here, I think.
We'll edit this out of everybody's memory
afterwards.
Absolutely,
yeah. Emmanuel Kant was a real pissant who was very rarely stable. Heidegger was a boozy beggar who could think you under the table. David Hume could out-consume Schopenhauer and Hegel, and Wittgenstein was a beery swine who was just as sloshed as Schlegel. There's nothing Nietzsche couldn't teach about the raising of the wrist. Hi, Barry. Socrates himself was permanently pissed. John Stuart Mill, of his own free will, on half a pint of shandy was particularly ill. Plato, they say, could stick it away, half a grade of whiskey every day. Aristotle was a bagger for the bottle. Hobbes was fond of his dram, and René Descartes was a drunken fart. I drink, therefore I am. Yes, Socrates himself is particularly missed. A lovely little think about a bugger when he's pissed. Well done.
And that must have been exhilarating, because having worked with the Bonzos for several years, you are now opening up to different possibilities and people appreciative of your and giving you different avenues to explore.
I am a team player. I really liked working, you know, in the chemistry of the Bonzos and the chemistry of the Pythons was kind of simple. You know, I mean, people argued. You know, don't get me wrong. You argue, but it makes things better in the end. You know. And I, you know, I'm sure it's the same kind of thing that, you know, made the Beatles special as well. You know, that kind of chemistry between the different characters, all with the kind of, you know, yeah, but it would be better if we did this or we did that, you know. And you have to be prepared to share your toys in the sandpit, you know, playing the same game. And I like that.
Yeah. Now you have spoken quite a lot in the past, and we might move to a different aspect of the story, because in a nutshell, Eric Idle invited you to work with him on a TV show called Rutling Weekend Television, and you came up with this little parody of A Hard Day's Night.
Yeah.
And once that clip was shown on Saturday Night Live, there came the call from the mighty Lorne Michaels, the executive producer of Saturday Night Live, gee, this is terrific, why don't you make a full-length film?
Yeah.
And then, of course, they came to you and saying, well, one song was lovely, how about another 20 by Thursday lunchtime?
Yeah.
How did you go about creating, when you'd just done something for one little skit, how did you go about creating that?
Yeah, well, you're quite right. It was terrifying, you know, really. Well, how on earth, you know, I sort of instinctively thought, whatever I do, I mustn't listen to any Beatles songs. And I cast my mind back to where I'd heard the songs on the radio, what I was doing, things like that. And I realised, you know, because it was kind of a movie of the whole Beatles sort of life as a group together, I had to make kind of signposts, you know, of various things. So I knew we had to have a kind of All You Need Is Love kind of song. And Eric was a great help, because, you know, the second movie in colour, you know, he came up with the idea of calling it Ouch, and things like that. But I mean, I literally tried to write songs of those periods, and the hardest ones were the early ones, you know, the simple love songs, like, you know, we saw on the Solomon show. Great, you know, economical, punchy, warm, you know, attractive pop songs, you know.
Full of pronouns.
Full of pronouns. So pronouns are good for you. Keep you regular. Oh no, it's prunes. Sorry. No, but the easier ones were the kind of, you know, the nonsense ones, you know, sort of, you know, like Piggy in the Middle and things like that.
Again, since you haven't prepared it whatsoever, is there something from among those first 20 songs that you might want to share with everybody here? It's unprepared.
Yeah, I know. From the first 20, well, no, we're going to do Between Us later because, you know, we've got two special guests as well.
We'll edit that in later on into our minds, and we'll imagine we heard it now.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. I mean, everyone's media savvy these days.
Yes, we'll re-edit this, we'll re-alter this later.
Yeah.
So, when you did those 20 songs, how fast was the whole thing recorded? Because these days, I mean, for the Beatles to do 20 songs of that ilk would have taken quite a considerable several months. You didn't have that luxury.
Yeah, well, I had about 2 or 3 months to write them all in, and I sort of came up with enough. There was 1 or 2 that didn't quite make it, but again, you know, sort of intuitively, I thought, well, we must sort of try and get to play like a band, because by then Eric had met Ricky Fattar on a beach somewhere in the Bahamas, and Ricky Fattar was then the drummer with the Beach Boys. And he's so lovely and laid back, you know, and he recalls, you know, Eric said, Ricky, how would you like to become a Ruttle? And he didn't know what a Ruttle was or anything. He said, yeah, okay. And of course the drummer is the irreplaceable John Halsey, alias Barry Wong. He's one of the funniest men on the planet, you know, really, sort of dry humour. He's got the face, you know, for his kind of humour. And of course, John's friend and my friend, Ollie Halsall, is, you know, arguably the world's greatest guitarist, wouldn't you say, Ken? And he was singing and playing on it. You know, Ollie's voice is on things like Get Up and Go, and With a Girl Like You, and doing harmonies and stuff like that. And we played for 2 weeks, just learning the songs, and we put down, you know, some versions on 2-track tape machines. And after the fortnight, we came out feeling like a band, you know, because it was actually Wimbledon week as well, because we'd play a bit of this, and they said, well, let's see what's happening on Wimbledon for a bit, and then go back and do a bit more. And in fact, on Archaeology, there's one of those tapes is there. It's sort of, we've arrived, and to prove it, we're here. Well, this is one of the songs that didn't make it. But this one-take version was so silly, we know, genuine laughing and things. It's a genuine archive Ruttle, you know, tape. So we put that on Archaeology. Martin here was the executive producer on that album. It wouldn't have happened if you know, Martin hadn't done. So he's to blame.
That was a labour of love that you did that, and since we're leaping forward chronologically, maybe you'd share a song.
I think we should do some songs.
And the thing about Archaeology was just the Beatles were doing Anthology. They'd just done live at BBC, and I approached Neil and said, you know, I know that among other fans like myself, I think there would be a hunger to hear some more songs. And Neil not only went back to find some older songs, but wrote some brand new ones, which were delightful.
Yeah, we'll do one from Archaeology called Joe Public, but we're not going to do it like we did it on the album, but it's more or less how it was first written. So it's called Joe Public. Joe Public, I'm sure you all know me. Sometimes they call me the man in the street, but I don't mind. I got my place in society, I got my feet on the ground, I got my pride and my prejudices. No one can push me around. My name is Joe Public, I'm sure you all know me. Sometimes they call me the proletariat, but I don't mind. They know me for my common sense. They know they can't please all of me. They know I can't be fooled all of the time. I am what I am, and I'm happy to be Joe Public. That's me. Joe Public. That's me. 'Cause I put my faith in the powers that be. Joe Public. That's me. Joe Public, I'm sure you all know me. Sometimes they call me the man in the street, but I don't mind. Or the great unwashed for that matter. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but names can never hurt me. I got my pride and my prejudices. I am what I am, and I'm happy to be Joe Public. That's me. Joe Public. That's me. Joe Public. That's me. Joe Public. Sorry, Ken. That's me. 'Cause I put my faith in the powers that be. Joe Public. That's me.
Yes, indeed. And
I really want to bring on Bonnie and Laurie, because soon, because they, after all these years of writing songs and things like that, I suddenly got a message that, you know, said, oh, we've got this website, and Bonnie and Laurie started this website over in Los Angeles, and it's truly an amazing website, and there's over 100,000 hits on it, you know. I mean, not my songs, I mean...
medley of hit.
A medley of hit, no. But they put together once more, he said they're going to come up later, and they again, you know, surprised them, it turned out to be the amazing backing singers. So we're now known as the Cybertones, along with Ken and Harvey and Christina. Well, you know. So it's
we're doing okay. I think introduce a second song, and just before you do, you approach the writing of the songs for archaeology in a different way than when you did for the film.
Yeah, exactly, because this I thought was more of a tribute to my sort of personal homage to, you know, Beatle music in a way, and the song that actually started it off I did yesterday. It's a song called Questionnaire, because I you know, when we did the Rutles, first of all, it was fun to do, and they wanted it done. George especially wanted it done. But, you know, after 1980, when John got shot, you know, it sort of, you know, when you said, you know, another Ruttle thing, I thought, oh, hang on, well, where's the fun in that, you know? And I did go down to see George and asked him what he thought. And with his typical dark humour, you know, I said, George, what would you think if there was another Ruttle album? And he immediately said, oh yeah, which one of you is going to get shot? And I said, precisely, George. You know, there's some fun in it, you know. But he then said, no, you know, I think you should do it because it's all part of the soup. And so the song Questionnaire was, you know, my way of sort of getting into it. And then, you know, all the different songs, I thought, well, you know, some of them, I remember playing George some of the songs, and he was sort of thinking, well, which one's this then, you know? And after about 2 or 3, he said, hang on, these are your songs. Don't be shy, you know. So I mean, it just shows you if you write a song and if you ruttle it up, you know, it can sound like a ruttle track. Anyone can be a ruttle. And in fact, I've got this theory that a ruttle is in fact a verb. You know, to ruttle is to sort of copy or emulate someone you admire, especially in the music business. And if you think of it like that, then the Beatles were ruttles because they listened to Eddie Cochran. You know, who did Mozart listen to? I mean, this is how we learn music.
Gene Vincent.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. Mozart was into leather too. But you know what I mean. You know, so as a child you listen to the radio, something turns you on to music, and it's normally somebody else's music, and that's how it goes on. And it's lovely to hear people singing, you know, these songs that were written sort of 30, 40 years ago. And if I, as a songwriter, I'd be chuffed to death if families were getting together for a lost weekend and singing all the songs. So, you know, good on you and keep doing it.
The Fest for Ruttle fans is not far behind.
Oh, I'm sorry. No. I mean, I think it's very, very nice to be, you know, to be invited here and be sort of like amongst Beatle fans, you know, because I mean, Ruttles was a labour of love and a proper, you know, tribute in its own way.
Okay, thank you, Will. Thank you.
It also gives me a chance to get some of my irritability off my chest as I look around the world, you know. Look at all the nice things money can buy. I'll try it in a proper key. Every day there's more and more. Do you ever stop and wonder why you're neither rich nor poor? Eine, Kleine, middle class of music. Dropping off the school kids in the second car, parking on a yellow line, getting in the shopping on a credit card, knowing how to choose a wine. Eine, Kleine, middle class of music. so up and coming that you feel so good. This is freedom in a land of plenty. You get nowhere, just stand still. You gotta hold on to what you got as best you can, 'cause if you don't, someone else will. Yes, they will. Look at all the nice things money can buy. Every day there's more and more. Do you ever stop and wonder why you need to lock your door? Loneliness is all that people ever share, smuggling their pain through nothing to declare, living next to people who agree to disagree, happy in a pie chart society. Eine Kleine middle class of music. Eine Kleine middle class of music.
There's blood on the microphone.
Watch out, Bruce Springsteen. I'm really going to hurt my throat this time. Oh, right, we're going to need more. Yeah, absolutely.
I'll tell you what, just one quick little thing to share with us about that magnificent concert for George that was so moving. Some of us have seen it in the movie theatres, now waiting to see it on DVD. Must have been quite both a moving and exhilarating all at once, poignant and happy and sad at the same time.
Yeah, well, it was a fabulous event. I mean, I particularly like the film because that's when I first got to see it. Do you know what I mean? When you're backstage, you're sort of saying, what's that? You don't get the same thing. But the evening actually went. I mean, you were there, Ken, weren't you? And it started off with Ravi and Anushka Shankar, you know, with all these indie musicians, and it was a fantastic first half. And I remember Gilliam in the dressing room saying, well, all these things run late, but I bet that Indian band runs on a bit, I said, Indian band? He said, oh, sorry, I know, right. He's an animator, he's crazy. But no, and then of course we came out as Pythons and lowered the tone completely with the second half. And I must admit, when they said, would you do it? And I said, well, of course I'd do it. And I thought, well, doing Sit on My Face was the last thing I thought of as as a kind of way of honouring the memory of a friend, But as we got into it, I could see George grinning wickedly, at the idea of people baring their bottoms in the Albert Hall. So it all went very well, and then there was a fantastic, session with Danny, playing all the chords, and it was spooky because he looked so like George in the early days. And I kind of expected the film to be sort of chronological like that. But in fact, they tried it like that. But in fact, it worked better the way it is. And I thought they've done a terrific job. The editing is terrific. And I think the surround engineering, the sound engineering of making you feel as though you're in the audience. You go to the cinema and say, this cinema is equipped with so-and-so sound, and they have helicopters whirring around you and big explosions, so, oh great, are we going to have more of that? But they've used the same technology to make you feel as though you're in the concert hall. And if you've got a DVD player with those sort of 5 speakers, you'll get that effect.
Yeah, and a lot of people forget that George produced the Python version of Lumberjack Song. That was one of his favourites. He adored the Pythons, didn't he?
Oh yeah. Much to Olivia's sort of chagrin, George had Sit on My Face on his jukebox. I think it was probably to get rid of unwelcome guests, I don't know. silly anyway.
So, before we bring on our special guest onto the stage, if there's another song that you'd like to charm us with, please.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, before Bonnie and Laurie come up, just to set the scene, there's a new song I've written. Do we do the Norky? Yes, we do. It's apparently in the UK, if you're my age and you get on a computer and you use email and things like that, you're known as a silver surfer. So, and the jargon of computer language keeps coming up, and I heard that if you spend a lot of time in cyberspace, you know, and you eventually get out and meet someone, you know, this is now called face mail in the meet zone, which is really attractive, and I thought, well, we've got to have so an spurious link into computer cyberspace is a song called Face Mail in the Meet Zone.
They call me a silver surfer because I'm old and grey, a kind of new age pensioner who can handle IT okay. I may be at home on the internet, online and up to speed, but can these modern times really get me all I need? I need the real world. Show me the real world, where scissors cut paper and paper wrap stone. Give me face mail in the meat zone. Rock. Out on the superhighway, where the juggernauts come and go, I can get all the information I'll ever need to know, just as easy as finding your Christmas tree lights all tangled up in a ball. One dot ball in the scheme of things, and you get no joy at all. I need the real world. Show me the real world, beyond the reach of digital TV, online shopping and .com. See, cause we are but flesh and bone. Give me face mail in the meat zone. Face mail in the meat zone. The hill is, so before I click undo, I'm downloading Monet's lilies to send as an attachment to you. I need the real world. Show me the real world, where scissors cut paper and paper wrap stone. Just you and me, all on our own, with a really good bottle of Cote de Rome. Give me face mail in the meat zone. Face mail in the meat zone. Face mail in the meat zone.
Mr. Arcade Thornton. Arcade Rutling. Can we bring on Bonnie and
I think I'd be delightful.
all the way from LA? They've come all the way from LA. Dear girls, come on.
Come on up, ladies.
You got the microphone.
Welcome. Microphone over there. Over there. That big microphone thing is the microphone.
You can move it anywhere you want. Oh, this is where I get to be kind of a crooner. One of the ideals of the website is to sort of to celebrate the individual, and we've got this this silly idea of, you know, we're all some kind of ego warriors, you know, sworn to defend self-esteem wherever it may be. But in order to become an ego warrior, I think you have to first of all discover your self-esteem. To do that, you have to discover yourself, and this is a kind of song about discovering oneself. And you know, I want you all to feel, you know, that you can too can be like me and look in the mirror and say to yourself, you are all I long for, all I worship and adore. You know, so there was tongue firmly in both cheeks. Here's a song called I Give Myself to You. In your own time. Go on. I give myself to you, for I know I've so much to give. Oh, how I'm feeling this way. There's just one thing I gotta say. Believe me, darling, believe me, I'm incredible. Whenever life becomes inedible, you know you can rely on me to provide an alternative. Yes, of me, innocent moments of both can corrupt you. There are so many bestial things to get up to. The world is a manifestation of you and me. Every star in the sky, every drop in the sea. Open your eyes to the energy of ugliness. It's the same thing as beauty. All things be equal. It's no surprise that you feel full of emptiness. The pattern of life is so full of detail. Let me explain the inexplicable. We want to then let me solve the inextricable. Take your time. And then when I'm through, all the world will see I've given. He's given myself himself to. Because it's amazing. We've got all kinds of tapes and videos and games and things like that, and free sample car parking, you know.
neillinnis.org, is that correct?
Neillinnis.org, of course. Hey, hang around, you're going to join us on this. Actually, what we'd like to do is you to join in this thing, because we'd like you all to become ego warriors. And there's a song called Ego Warriors. Just get you in the mood, this is the kind of thing it's all about. Windsurfers do it standing up. Tiddlywinkers do it in a little plastic cup. Weekenders do it in a caravan. Ego warriors do it anywhere they can. Ego warriors, we are all ego warriors. We are all together in the middle of the road. We have had enough of information overload. Journalists do it every day. Politicians do it in their own sweet way. Style gurus do it in your dreams. Ego warriors do it with their self-esteems.
do it in the name of God. Gourmets do it with a gastropod. Ballet dancers do it on the tips of their toes. Ego warriors do it with a thumb and a nose. Ego warriors, we are all ego warriors. We get it all together with our backs against the wall. Ego warriors, all for one and one for all. We don't know, but we've been told.
We don't know, but we've been told.
We are worth our weight in gold.
We are worth our weight in gold.
We have no superiors.
We have no superiors.
We have no inferiors.
We have no inferiors.
We are individual,
We are individual.
up to date and digital.
Up to date and digital.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Ego Warrior salute. And if any of you would care to be Ego Warriors, right now I am empowered to swear you in. So if you would all care to adopt the Ego Warrior salute and repeat after me. I solemnly swear.
I solemnly swear
To defend self-esteem.
to defend self-esteem
Wherever it may be.
wherever it may be,
Without ever appearing pompous. Or idiotic. And never to repeat. Parrot fashion. Anything I am told. By anyone posing as an authority figure. So help me, Rhonda. Help me, Rhonda. Ooh. I could stamp my little foot. All right, you're in.
Ego warriors, we are all ego warriors. We are all together in the name of fun. Ego warriors, one for all and all for one. Ego warriors, one for all and all for one. Ego warriors, one for all and all for one. One for all and all for one. For all and all for one.
Thank you very much.
Quite magnificent. Time is oppressing, and time is a very cruel mistress, of course. She comes and gathers us and takes us away far too swiftly. However, if you, Neil, and Ken, and wonderful Bonnie and Laurie would care to serenade us with one last Ruttle moment.
Yes, exactly. The Ruttle song we alluded to earlier, so we were editing back in time. So yes, you're quite right. The clock on the wall has the sound of time running out of it, and lots of cliches spilling themselves onto the floor, drip by drip.
And we will insert this into your memory banks at that point where we first spoke about this song.
All right. Hey, what was the middle bit? Okay.
I forgot.
I'm looking at you, you're looking at me. Between us it's all so easy to see. We were made for each other, girl. We were made for each other. Between us, love has begun between us. Two hearts and one between us. Nothing can come between us. Whatever we do, whenever we kiss, between you and me, it's not a miss. We were made for each other, girl. We were made for each other, between us. Love has begun between us. Two hearts are one between us. Nothing can come between us. Rock on, Ken. Between us, love has begun between us. Two hearts are one between us. Nothing can come between us. Between us, nothing can come between us. Between us, nothing can come, nothing can come between us.
Bobby and Laurie, Rutling, Ken Thornton, and Mr. Neil Innes.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Martin.
Wonderful, wonderful stuff, and there will be more live music from Neil tonight. He will join Liverpool starting at 6 o'clock, between 6 and 8, live music on stage, and Neil will be joining us.
And don't forget, you can do this at home anytime you're irritated.
Thank you so much. Whoops. So, I think moving right along.
Recording now.